Hey y'all. Iman.
Here we go. Hey y'all, get
Hey
in
you
here,
guys.
get in here, get in here. If y'all don't get in here right
Get,
now,
get on in here. Let's get into it.
let's get in here, get in here, get in here, get in
I
here.
feel
We
so
got a
tired.
lot. We got a lot for you guys tonight. I'm trying to get my camera the way it's supposed to be. Okay, there I go. So yeah, y'all get in here, get in here, get in here, family. Get in here,
Get in,
family, right
family.
now.
You don't want to miss this.
Yeah, we got a lot for you guys right now, and just really quick, we want to talk a little bit about the kitchen soup segment of it. And there's kind of right before this happened, before we went on. This is real live. We in real time, y'all. If y'all see my spirits a little low, I'm gonna share a
She's
little
a
bit about.
little down, you guys. She's a little down. She's in her feelings, and rightfully so. But I've been trying to pull her up out of this thing, you guys. But
I'm
I want
trying
her to
not to
talk about it.
cry.
No, don't
I'm
cry.
trying to.
It's okay. It's okay, you guys. Y'all help me help her, right? I just want to encourage her. She got to be encouraged right
Oh,
now, you guys.
look who showed up. Look who showed up. Oh my goodness. Look who showed up. Um,
Big D.
Hey,
there
how
we go.
y'all doing?
Big D
Hey.
How y'all doing? How's everybody doing today?
showed up. Oh my
We're good. We're good. You good? How are you?
I'm great. I'm
goodness.
great.
So,
I'm
guys.
so glad that you showed up. I'm so glad. Tina, I want you to go ahead and touch bases on why you're down, but let's go ahead and get into the kitchen soup because I want to hear
Yeah.
Malik's point of view.
My point of view.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get
So a
there.
little bit huh? A little bit about why I was kind of a little low in spirits. I just found out because, going into this, trying to brand the kitchen tabletop. I was trying to family. I was trying to trademark it, and I just kind of learned that because of the kitchen tabletop is kind of common, and a lot of people using many variations of the kitchen table in so many different ways. Not the kitchen tabletop, but the kitchen and table. Kitchen and table is all over the place in the
Right.
trademark world. So as a result, we may have to rebrand.
What?
Mm,
Yeah, the name. Yeah.
What?
uh, yeah, and so I just was kind of real disappointed about that. So, but what we're gonna try to do is make it a little fun, and maybe y'all can help us, family. Maybe y'all can help us with the rebranding. Shoot us in some names. We're gonna do it later. We'll do a contest, see what y'all would like us to be called, and let's try to make it fun. Lift it up. All right,
But
we're gonna
but
move.
one thing I'm gonna say, you guys, I was telling Tina, I understand, but at the same time, our content is not going to change. Our vision, our mission, and our purpose will still be the same. And I think that's what's most important. But I get it. I understand we have this brand around the kitchen table talk, but I just want you to be encouraged, Pooh. I do.
Mm, that's still crazy. We got jackets. We got shirts.
We got
It's okay.
merch.
We can fix that. We can fix that. But let's
Yeah.
get into the kitchen soup.
Kitchen soup. We want to talk a little bit about the death of the young African American man in Minneapolis. I mean, what can we say? Here we go again. Here we go again. I don't know what else to say about, this disparity on our people. It's just terrible. The man, literally, the police officer with his knee. I'm disgusted with all that.
Yes. And you have a son. So I can only imagine that you're very disgusted with what you view, what you've been viewing, what you've been seeing. It could be very discouraging. Malik, what is your standpoint on that? What's your point of view, being a male, African American male?
I've been talking about this for a long time, and it's just coming to a head right now because there's just been a lot more cases of a lot of things happening, a lot of things shifting, and right now the brutality that the police is showing towards black male is 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 the It's outrageous. And what really, is the main problem for me. Like, yeah, when that happens, it's crazy, it's wild. But what really bugs me is when a lot of the other try to justify why it is they killed that man. Why it is they went like with Ahmaud Arbery, his job. A lot of people try to justify why those two white men killed him. Tried to
Right.
see that tried to basically vilify Ahmaud Arbery when in that entire video nothing wrong, do nothing wrong beforehand or after. A lot of hearsay, and a lot of them him bad guy. Then in this case, the man was begging for his life, and the officer didn't care. He was clearly careless. All he
Yeah.
got was fired. That's all they get is a slight tap on the wrist and a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
It's definitely horrible. It's horrible. There is no excuse for that. There's no justification for it, Um, and unfortunately, this is the world that we're living in right now. And coming from my point of view is I know there's some raggedy ones out there, but I also know there's some great ones out there. But in law enforcement, we don't have a lot of room to be raggedy, right?
no,
Because
no.
these are the trusted ones that we should be able to trust. And so it's very disheartening, working for the sheriff's department is very disheartening, the conversations that you hear and the things that you see, and that I go through working in internal affairs. It's just unfortunate. And so my heart goes out. My heart goes out every single time, because again, I know that there are some amazing stand-up cops, but I also know what we see as well.
I just think personally, we are just conditioned as a community or as a public eye. We just conditioned to tolerate a lot from them, and I don't think a lot of those mistakes should be tolerated at
Those
all.
are mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a mistake. That's not
Right.
a mistake.
So I don't
Yeah,
think tolerated. Uh, getting uh, put on leave every day like that. You know,
Yeah.
that's not that's not. I don't want to say an eye for an eye, but at this point, what else can you do? I feel like they should be tried for murder and tried for plain and simple.
I agree.
Not just we're gonna let you go here, go to another department and work there.
Something like that. Not at all. No.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Right.
We conditioned to tolerate a lot, and then we going so far as to make excuses for it. Just crazy. And that's why I've been telling a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends, like, you need to be armed. Else is becoming armed. You need to be armed, because right now we are at a point where we have to fight. We have to protect ourselves from the law enforcement. We have to protect ourselves from the government, I guess. We got to protect ourselves from the racists. We got to protect ourselves from our own people, because sometimes when they live in poverty too, they got to do what they got to do. So we got to protect from three different forms of danger. So I'm all for people arming themselves. Second Amendment, I'm for it, and I definitely feel like a lot of my friends should be armed and shouldn't have to be in a situation where they feel they can't protect themselves.
wow.
So I'm not against guns. I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely not against guns. I'm against ignorant people with guns. Right. So
Right.
it's not the gun that does the harm.
No, it's a tool.
Right, absolutely. So I mean, I get what you're saying. It's sad, and we got to come together. We got to do something. We have to do something.
I mean, it starts just the environment that we're in, real way reform and re-educate, and that goes across the board from the black people to the white people, because brought up in a hateful system where they brought up to hate and vilify us, and we're brought up to hate ourselves and vilify each other. So I just like it. We broke when living in poverty. You gotta do what you have to survive. So that's why. Why you look like that?
I definitely wanted to hear your point of view. your point of view on that before we get into the iron skillet.
Oh,
So
yeah,
thank you
it goes
for.
deep. Talk about that all day. So
Oh, I already know. That's a whole show by itself. We may
A
have to come back
whole
on
show.
that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we're about 10 after the hour, you guys, and we ain't gonna want to keep our guests on too long. We have a real special guest for you guys today. We have a special guest, Dr. Lang Rowland. He is a infectious disease specialist, and we're gonna, without further ado, bring him on and let's see if he's back there and see what's going on. Dr. Lang, let me see, is he there? Okay. Let me just. Dr. Lang Rowland is our infectious disease specialist, and he is like a professional on everything COVID right now. So let me get him on the line, see if he's still back there. I see he must have stepped away. Okay.
Yeah. He comes in. You guys are in.
Yeah,
He got
but
some good information.
following him. There he goes. How you doing, Dr.
Hey,
Rowland?
Doc.
Can you hear us?
We can't hear him.
Oh no, now we don't have his audio. Okay, we can't hear you at this point. Maybe that is because this is what I'm saying with that fourth. Every time he went out, now he's gonna try to come back in, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's that fourth person every time that that gives us the
Issue with the audio.
the issue with the audio. Like we're fine, we do our test, and then we come back, and then we have issues with our audio. How about now, Dr. Rowland?
Can you hear me now?
Here we go. Got you now. All right. Welcome to the Kitchen Table Talk, where no topic is too heavy or too light for the table. Dr. Rowland, now we've been following you. We actually ran into you on a show you were doing with your daughter, and I was so impressed about your knowledge that I told my chair, I said, I gotta reach out to him. He don't know me from Adam, but I have to reach out to him and see if he'll come on and share some of that knowledge that he has surrounding around COVID. You have a wealth of knowledge around infectious diseases, period, and your resume is a mile long.
My
but
goodness.
Yes, in particular about COVID, please educate us on what this COVID-19 thing is.
Well, I want to tell you guys, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be on your program. And I look forward to sharing some good information this evening about COVID-19, understanding red beans and rice and cornbread and peach cobbler. COVID Healthcare Task Force, the National Congressional Black Task Force, and I'm also on the National HIV Task Force and COVID related. So I'm here to try to give everybody the best information they can to make sure that they have the ability to survive through this pandemic. As of yesterday, up until August of this year, in 3 months, there will be another 100,000 plus Americans who are going to die. That's a fact. And your job, you're not one of these individuals that are being put in a body bag. And so if you listen to me, you should have a good outcome. This pandemic is not going to be over. It's not going to be over in 6 months. This pandemic is going to go on for a minimum of 2 years. If you know history of pandemics, we look at the 1918 pandemic and the Spanish flu. That pandemic in the history book says 1918 to 1920. But if you really know the science, it started in 1970. First person died private, white guy in the UK. But it really kicked off in 1920 in China. So this shows you how long a pandemic goes on. You need to understand, people, that right now, at this moment, after what we've gone through, we've only had 8 to 10% population here in the United States world that has been exposed to the virus. When we get immunity, that number has to be 65 to 70% of the population has to be exposed to disease. So you can imagine 65% times 360 million Americans, how many more people are going to get this disease? A lot of people are going to get it. Some people are going to recover, and people are going to die. And then we'll get on the other side of it, 25%. And so this is important for you to understand the science of the medicine so you understand where we're going and how to protect yourself. When we talk about COVID-19, this virus is not new. It's not novel. This virus was first discovered in 1960 in 2 patients. But the virus has been around for about 50 million years when the dinosaurs roamed this earth. Virus is found, and this virus is found in particular in bats. And that bat jumped into man, and that's through what's called spillage or spillover or accidental host. Most epidemics comes from an animal vector. It could be a dog, a cat, a pig, a bird. It could be a civet. It could be a bat. It could be a monkey. Any animal, warm-blooded, viruses, and that virus jumps into us. How does that happen? We have wet markets, and I've worked in wet markets all over the world. And I've taken students there, and we study, we take samples of the monkey brains. We take samples of the water, take it back to the laboratory, and we have all types of cholera, to tuberculosis, to, viral diseases, dengue, etc., that we're able to find in these. A lot of people don't understand the history behind wet markets. Why do they have wet markets in Africa? Why do they have wet markets in South America? Well, folks, people are always looking for protein. Most poor people can't afford to go to Walmart and get chicken, or they can't get the meat they need, the protein. So what governments have done and what people have done, they go to the jungles and they catch bats, they catch lions, they catch monkeys, they catch all types of creatures, grow them up, and they take them to the wet market, and that's what people buy and eat that becomes their chicken. So this bat, somebody got this bat, drank the blood, ate the bat, ate the head, whatever the case is, and they didn't cook that meat very well, and that virus got in that individual, and that was patient 0. Folks, the virus did not start in Wuhan, China. This virus started in 2 other China cities, and that's why we just call it the Chinese virus and stuff. This virus, we've looked at the genetic mapping of this virus. This virus comes straight from a bat to. I'm part of the HPI. I'm a professor of pathogen and virology in Heinrich Petite Institute in Germany. And we have looked at the genetics of the blueprint, the RNA of this virus, and this RNA corresponds to bat to man and not being spliced in a laboratory, some genetic modification. I don't believe in conspiracy theory. I deal in reality, because when I put your butt in a body bag and I zip it up, that's ball game over. This is not a mannequin. It's not a set. So I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't believe in drinking Clorox. I don't believe in malaria medication, because I've seen it. I've smelt it. I've dealt with it. I've dealt with epidemics in the jungles of Peru, from dengue to chikungunya, Zika, rabies, yellow fever. I've seen diseases where it eats a person's face away and their jaw is sticking out of their face, or their eyeball falls out their head. I've seen that in the real world and not from a book. And so the reality, sorry.
I wanna cut you off, but I wanna, before you go further. So the conspiracy that you're talking about is the Dr. Judy Mikovits. She's saying that this virus was created in a lab, and a lot of our people, that's what they believe. So you're saying that somewhere where different cultures practice eating certain animals, they ingested it, and that's how the virus from the bat got in, mixed with the human?
All viruses that are infectious disease viruses that get into man comes from an animal. It's the vector. It's the carrier. I.e., bats carry over 1,000 RNA viruses. In fact, bats carry over 400 different coronavirus. But the only coronavirus that we've known so far to affect man are SARS #1, MERS #2, and it's COVID-19 that's causing destruction. But people need to understand, here in the United States, there are 4 coronavirus circulating in our society right now. It causes you the common cold. People don't understand that. But the coronavirus did not originate from some science fiction movie. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. Don't waste my time on that. I have too many other things important to worry about you drinking Clorox. You want to try it? Go drink some Clorox. We'll find out what happened. And you can put yourself in your own body bag, and you can talk to God when you get there. So I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I deal with the science and the facts. So the bottom line, at the end of the day, this virus came from an animal into man. The virus replicated. The person left Wuhan, and it spread it all over the world. To understand and diseases, you can look at Chinese people everywhere. They're in South America. They brought the disease to Italy. They brought the disease to Spain. They brought the disease to South America. They brought the disease to the United States. They brought the disease to Europe. They brought the disease to New Zealand. They brought the disease to Australia. They were the carriers. They brought the disease to Vancouver, Canada, and somebody from Canada, Chinese infected, went to Seattle to get a bowl of clam chowder and brought that disease down there. That's what we call community spread. That is fact. That is not some imaginary thing. This is how diseases transmit. And then since we are a new population and we don't have immunity to this disease, the disease is spread by wildfire. The bottom line, we have a thing we call the R number, which is a reproductive number of how infectious disease is. Measles is a 12. 12 times one person that has measles can affect 12 people. Somebody has coronavirus, the R number is 5.7, up to 10. One person can affect 5.7 people. Somebody in a restaurant has COVID-19 can affect 5.7 people in that restaurant. If it's high density, like a nursing home, a hospital, an airplane, a train, a boat, a football stadium, that R number can jump up to 10. One person affecting 10 people. So this is the understanding diseases. Ebola is lethal, 99.9%. The R number on Ebola is a 1. That's not very good to infected people. One person is blood, 101. Coronavirus is aerosol. Measles is aerosol. One of the best way to transmit diseases through the air. This particular virus, which makes it different than influenza, is that this virus, when you cough or you sneeze, it comes out 200 miles per hour, 40,000 droplets on the average. And that virus, just you talking and you're infected with COVID-19, this virus can stay in the air for 4 minutes. Hey, it doesn't go just 6 feet. The virus can go 9 feet, 12 feet, 21 feet. Now you know what the wind current is. If it gets into your air conditioner unit in your building, you can affect everybody. You can imagine somebody in a nursing home and they're breathing these COVID-19 virus out. It goes up into the air vents. It gets spread to everybody in that building, absolutely 150%. You can imagine being on a cruise ship. You can definitely imagine being on an airplane. The virus also has what we call a lot of immunogenic capabilities. This virus is not the same virus it was back early September or early August. This virus is mutated to 40 different strains now. And we know exactly where the mutations are occurring is at D14G gene, which allows this virus to attach to the eye cells, your kidney cells, your lung cells, your vessels in your legs, your heart, your lungs, your gastrointestinal tract. 60% of the transmission of COVID-19 is through air. 25% of the transmission of COVID-19, folks, is feces. Let me repeat that again. 5% is through feces. And so somebody goes to the bathroom, take a dump, you flush the toilet, that stuff gets aerosolized all over the bathroom. And you can step in it, can be on the bottom of your shoes, be on the bottom of your purse, can be on your clothes and stuff, i.e. most people don't really do serious hand washing techniques. I know because I study diseases and I followed some people that have spent $50,000 on dinner here in Las Vegas, and I watched them go to the bathroom, take a dump, and come out and touch the door, everything, the rail, give the girl her credit card without washing his hands. Transmission. Teaching our kids on how to wash their hands is one of the things that we're going to do, and we're doing it. And we're going to talk about Uncle Kuski and Safe Hands, Save Lives. We have pediatric antiseptic soap to teach kids how to wash their hands. We have a cartoon for it, and we even have a comic book for it. This is what we have to do. So that's one of the things we have to understand. You have to understand biosecurity protocols. You have to understand biosecurity procedures and stuff, how to protect yourself end this pandemic, because you do not want to be one of the 100,000 people that are going to body bags within the next 90 days. They've already said come June 1st, there will be 3,000 deaths every day in the United States up to the next 3 or 4 months. It might be higher than that. That's where we're going. Also understanding the COVID-19, you have to understand that this disease is a multifaceted virus. It affects all these different cells. We find it in the semen. We find it in the placenta. We find it in the eyeballs. We find it in the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the gastrointestinal tract, in your vessels, in your legs. This virus attaches to a lot of areas. You can also get this virus through your eyeballs. Somebody can cough. Virus is in the air. You walk through, that virus can get in your eye and you can get an infection. Incredible pathogen. And it's going to do what it's going to do for the next, the virus now, folks, the reality, the virus is not pandemic. The virus is endemic. And endemic means it's in your population. I've lost, in the last 8 days, I've lost 19 of my friends that are doctors. They're dead. Infectious disease surgeons, they're in body bags with wives and children crying. This disease is serious. If my doctor friends and infectious disease guys can die from this disease, that means you can also have the possibility of dying from this disease. And that's why you need to make sure that you have great understanding, situational awareness, and understanding what this virus can do to protect yourself, your family, your business, your community.
Dr. Rowland. Oh my God. Oh Lord. I asked for the Dr. Rowland version. Now I'm almost saying, can I get the daddy version?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's a private joke. If y'all didn't see him and his daughter, she was like, he asked, did she want the Dr. Rowland version or the daddy version to relieve some of the anxiety. Now I'm with her, like, oh my God. Dr. Rowland, you said 40 different strains. Can you tell us what strain we on now? Or
there's 40 different strains in our society worldwide. There's a East strain, there's a West Coast strain, there's a Europe strain. The strain that's going on in Peru is a different strain. The strain in Africa. This is why when CDC says, "Hey, you know what? You need to go take the flu shot." Well, the flu shot doesn't work. They say it works in 26% of the people. That's the CDC results, but it's more likely it's 10%. And so what happens to the other 85%? You wouldn't want me to operate on you as a trauma surgeon with a 10% average, yes or no? Absolutely not. So why is everybody taking the shot that doesn't work? Because that flu shot has nothing to do with the year. That flu shot is something they got 3 years ago, and that virus is already immunogenic, changed through antigenic shift and antigenic drift, mutations in the RNA. What makes RNA viruses so difficult, folks, is that there's always, they replicate, they always are a mutation. Automatically, it's mutated. Not the same virus that it was originally because the RNA does not correct the mutation. That's what makes these RNA viruses lethal and dangerous. Influenza, Ebola, MARS, MERS, SARS, etc. This is a game of understanding the world of virology and stuff.
Wow. So is Kawasaki, the Kawasaki disease, is that a strand?
No, Kawasaki is a complication of somebody who has COVID-19 that we see in. Kawasaki is what we call the multisystemic inflammatory disease that affects all the vessels in the body, especially the arterial system. And then what happens is that you get this massive inflammation, Kawasaki syndrome-like, and then what happens is that these kids are dying at 9, 7, and 12 years old. In fact, Louisiana had over 400 kids last week that were diagnosed with disease, and these kids are having heart attacks and stroke at 9, 12. And so that is something as a Black race and people, we need to understand that, because they were telling you at the beginning, the virus is going to go away. It's your imagination. It's going to go away. No big deal. Well, guess what? Children are dying from this thing. It's not just an adult disease. It's a baby's disease, pediatric disease, childhood disease, teenager disease, adult disease. It's a whole spectrum. And so when you get Kawasaki syndrome and your kids has a red eyes, they have a red tongue, cracked lips, wrapped in their body, fever for 5 days, you need to get them to the hospital ASAP. and because they're going to have that multi-inflammatory syndrome and they can die from it.
Wow.
So you're saying that it is or is not connected to the COVID?
It is connected to a COVID. These kids have disease. They're asymptomatic. They're 14 to 21 days. The body started making antibodies, end up having what we call an antibody enhanced reaction, and it causes massive inflammation in the artery. In fact, what we're finding out with most of the Black people that are dying from COVID-19, they're dying from clots. They're clotting up. The disease affects your vascular system, causing you to have clots. So the Black people are dying from strokes in their kidneys, strokes in their livers, blockage in their hearts, blockage in their brains. And that came out today on the plate that's blockage in Black folks.
Why are they like, okay, open up the world again? Why?
That I don't understand. Right.
Well, you
Are they
know,
not talking to you?
100,000 people died of COVID-19, 20,000 plus are Black. That's a fact. The reason why, you know, people want to open up the economy, and I, you know, understand it. There are kids out there, honestly, it's much more. There are kids out there in Louisiana that 3,000 of them, they get their food, their lunch from the school. There's no school, these kids don't eat. And so we have these consequences of a disease. And I've talked about this when I was at a big seminar in healthcare disparity at Tuskegee Institution 3 years ago on understanding how the global packs of diseases, how diseases can affect society. It will cause a society to collapse. It causes people to have what I call it a pandemic psychosis. You can look what's happening in South America. People are rioting, people are killing each other. There's food insecurity, there's anxiety. So these diseases is not just the disease itself, there's a part of the disease syndrome. It can cause societies to collapse. So what they're trying to do is appease you guys, because you guys are cattle, you guys are sheeps, and you're going to watch and listen to CNN and Fox, and they tell you to jump off a roof, you guys are going to jump off the roof instead of understanding the science on why not to jump off a roof. And so when we talk about opening up society, we have to do it in a controlled fashion. It has to be organized. A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D. I promise you what's going to happen. We're going to see it in 14 days, a minimum 14 days, max about 30. All them people swimming in that pool, drinking their beer, smoking their marijuana in Ozark, Missouri. They're going to be just like Mardi Gras, affecting everybody, killing their moms and dads, and they're not going to be laughing. I can promise you that. I'm going to be laughing because I told you so. And so this is the reality that we have to go to. So they're going to open up society. They have to. I understand that. You know, I'm the guy that's trying to teach people biosecurity. How do you function in this environment? What procedures you have to do to function in this new environment? But the reality, and if you talk about the science, they're going to open it up. And if you don't have good procedures and protocols, they're going to be shutting it down. It's going to be shut down a lot worse than what it is now because there's a greater amount of people exposed to disease. It causes the hospital system to collapse. You look in the paper and look what's happening in South America. The hospitals have collapsed. No oxygen. The doctors are all sick and dying. The nurses are sick and dying. There is nothing left. There is no economy. There's no food. So this is why we have to make sure that we have the best practices to protect people. And that's what we have to give you guys the best information.
Wow.
I sure appreciate the facts. Malachi, you look like you're stunned because
Yeah, I mean, talked about the dangers of how it's airborne. I just want to know, how do we protect ourselves from that?
Yeah.
Well, the way we protect ourselves is that we need to understand the situation awareness. What environment you're in? Are you going to Walmart? You go to Walmart and there's 1,000 people in there, you better be wearing a mask. Because I promise you coming out of there infected. You're around a lot of people in a dense area, you better have a mask on because you're going to get infected. So the mask is important to decrease your chance from 50 to 75% of getting the infection into your lungs. You know, if you have your hands out, you better make sure that you are sterilizing your hands and wash your hands with great antiseptic stuff because of fecal matter. You touch the door handle. etc. And so this is some of the thing in dealing with an airborne virus. And then you better make sure you have an air filtration unit in your house or your business. And that came out again. I've been talking about this for 3 months. I don't know if CDC and everybody's copying me, but they seem to come out after I come out, they come out with something. And so air filtration units are important to be able to clean the air and sterilize the air of killing coronavirus and other pathogens.
So I have heard you talk about the air filtration system, and that was one of my questions. Okay, I did go on, and they're kind of small. How many would you need to do a house?
Well, when you say small, they have various sizes. And the only reason I'm talking about these guys because I understand the science, I understand the medicine. And the science is the best on the planet. This air molecule system is on this space station. This is what we use in our bio labs. This is what we use in the hospitals. The ones in the hospital cost $18,000. So these ones are that we're using, the small mini ones or the air one. The air one is about what you need in your house because it covers about 6 feet. Depending on how big your place is, you need to have things to be able to cover 600 feet in your house, and you'll figure that out. And the best brand on the planet is called Molecule, and that's what we're going to, folks. They said it today, CDC, got to have air filtration units, period, because the virus is airborne. So Molecule is the company.com, and then what you do is you tell them, you put in the code, my name, and you'll get a 12.5% discount. And that's DRROLLING, all capitalized. And this is another line of protection and stuff for you.
I know it's been evolving, like you said, because we've been following you. And you said the antiseptic hand wash. Initially, we talked, we were saying it was Hibiclens. Now you have another one because the disease has continued to evolve, right?
Yeah.
So what is that one?
Well, we came up with a better product, better than Hibiclens, and you can go to saferhands.us, and you can order it there. Ours has, the ability to kill viruses, bacteria, fungus 24 hours, and we added some chemicals to it to give you what we call soap, little bubbles. And so one of the things with Hibiclens, you wash your hand, you don't have this lathering, and you have to have that lathering effect to be able to be more efficient in killing viruses and getting viruses off your hands. And we also have what we have for children. We have Uncle Kuski, who teaches kids how to wash their hands through our comic book that we have. And then we have pediatric antiseptic wash for the kids with Uncle Kuski teaching the kids how to wash their hands. We have the best thing on the planet by far.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get the Molecule. Shiva Boone has said I have the Molecule Air, the best investment I've ever made. So yeah, I have to get several.
Make sure you get it for your family, because folks, I'm sorry, the disease is a game changer. Do you understand that? We put you in a body bag, you're not gonna be worrying about your iPhone. So you need to go make that type of investment. And your Molecule.com, I'm sorry, this is the best brand. Trust me, I don't want to. I believe in fact, not conspiracy theories. And you make sure you get your 12.5% discount. My black people out there, because I'm here to give you the best information. So make that happen and stuff. And then on the antiseptic hand wash, folks, this has got to be mandatory. You have to wash your hands. Period. End of story. When somebody goes in your bathroom and takes a dump and they come out and they don't wash their hands, you're going to have a problem. So you need to make sure people understand the rules in your house and your establishment, and you need to make sure that you put in your soap dish in your business the Safer Hands, Save Lives antiseptic hand wash that we have. You need to put that in there in your public bathroom and your businesses, your establishment, so people are mandatory washing their hands using that stuff because it kills viruses, bacteria, and fungus.
Let me ask a question. And then before I ask this question, I want to ask you about that herd immunity. Can you explain that one more time, that herd immunity?
Well,
For those,
herd immunity in epidemiology, infectious diseases, we define herd immunity when 65 to 75% of the population hasn't been infected by a disease. The great example of that right now is what Sweden tried to do. They had this nonchalant attitude that they weren't going to have any quarantine or social distancing. They wanted everybody to go to school, go to church, go to movies. And guess what happened, folks? Decided collapse. They have the highest death rate in Europe. It's going like wildfires. All the people in the nursing home are dead. And they said that their policy failed. And so when we talk about herd immunity has to be in a controlled fashion, like we're doing here in the United States, but we're failing at it. That means herd immunity is when your population is 65 to 75% worldwide in our society, then you have immunity where disease is more or less under control. Well, folks, guess what? We're only at 8 to 10% of the people in the United States have been affected with coronavirus. So we still have another 60%. So take 60% of 360 million people. That is how many more people got to get infected with disease. So you can imagine what the numbers of death, the number of sick people. Herd immunity, when we know the disease is controlled worldwide, herd immunity, 65 to 75% of the people on the planet will have herd immunity when they're exposed to it. Then the virus kind of wanes out of the society. But to truly understand how pandemics work, folks, how do we determine if a pandemic ends is that we check the sewage. We look at the feces and sewage, and we test for the COVID-19. And then once that virus goes to a population and we keep checking the sewage, there will not be any virus in the sewage. For example, when we're in Pakistan, we had a polio epidemic outbreak. And we test the sewage on the front end. We have polio virus in the sewage. Once we gave everybody the vaccination, the oral vaccination, it went through the population. At the end, we were able to test the sewage, and there was no more viruses in the sewage. And so that's another measurement of how you understand how a pandemic is going to play out. And so right now, folks, we haven't even got to the top of the hill yet, really on the first wave. And so we're going to find out in the next 3 or 4 months. And like we said earlier, we already know where this is going to go. So you need to make sure you protect yourself.
how come some people are being okay and others are not?
Some
Well,
are
that's-
surviving, yeah.
That's just the fact. That's just the fact of what strain you get infected with. I mean, you might get part of the strain that's weaker. Maybe the strain doesn't have the killing capacity. And then you might get the other strain that'll kill you. And that's why this disease is getting into dogmas on immunity. We have 2 types of immunity, folks. We have what we call cellular immunity, and we have what we call humoral. Humoral immunity is what we define as antibodies. These antibodies are responsible for pathogens outside the cell. We have 5 of them. We call it GAME: IgG, IgA, IgM, IgD. Well, the 2 that we're concerned about in diseases is IgM and IgG. You get an infection, you get sick, you get AIDS, you get the mumps, doesn't matter. Bacterial infection. The first antibodies that we all use are IgMs. They last for about 7 days. After 7 days, the antibodies turn over to IgG. IgG is your long-term antibodies that helps fight infections on the outside. So guess what happens, folks? Right now, we do not believe that IgG is conferring anybody immunity long-term. Sometimes we have viral infections. The IgGs last maybe 3 weeks. In some infections, they last a lifetime in certain diseases. Then we have what we call the cell-mediated immunity part, what I call our T cells. These T cells are responsible for the viruses, bacteria, cancer cells that are inside the cell. And so the T cells also correlates and works with the humoral immunity, and that's how we get infection. Well, right now, we do not know because we have people that are positive infected, got over it, and then been reinfected again. And we have people that are negative and they get infected. We have people that get the disease the first time it's a mild form, and they get it again, they die. So there's different strains out there, and this is why it's so difficult to come up with an antibody test to test people. That's why the CDC said yesterday 50% of all the testing in the United States has been unreliable. We don't know if it's really real because that's the way it is. You have to have a test that has all the different strains in it. You can't have you can't test that has 20 different strains because you're going to miss 20% of the other strains. You have to have a test that has all the strains, and that's why more likely there's going to be a vaccination. They'll come up with a vaccine in about 18 months, and then what's going to happen is that they're going to take all you black folks. That's what you're going to do. They're going to come up here and get your shots. They're going to run down there. They're going to shoot you. They're going to experiment on you, and then because they're not going to inject Trump, they're not going to inject Bill Gates' family or their children. They're not going to inject white kids in Beverly Hills or the Hamptons or in the white boys in France. They're going to go to Africa and they're going to practice a shot on you. This is time where you want to make sure that you're the last in the back of the bus. You let them get the shot, and then you find out what happens, and I'll read the white paper, and I'll tell you if it's good or not. That's reality.
Well, I'm going to call you. I got you. Me and you, be direct. You already told me, unless we traveling, we ain't traveling. So, are we traveling yet?
Well, yes, we are in certain ways. And my son traveled today from Salt Lake City to Boston, but he had the best mask on the planet.
Okay.
Mask. So he was good. He's a second lieutenant in the Army, military police, so he knows because Dad taught him very well. But when I start flying, you start flying. If I don't fly overseas, what does that mean? Are you going anywhere?
Don't go nowhere.
Everybody that knows me, I have a bunch of quotes. And one of my quotes, I tell people, never get out the boat. And if you get out that boat, be prepared to go all the way because there's no coming back. And so once I get out the boat on flying again, we're all going to get out the boat together.
All right. Okay, we're going to open it up for questions now because, I don't even know how many questions y'all would have. He didn't answer everything, but
Touched everything.
hey, Ram, you got something?
No, I'm at a loss for words. Like, wow, okay, we just definitely have to be, prayed up and make sure that we're being cautious and keeping our hands clean and trying to stay educated. And as this thing evolves, we have to be available to learn what's going on.
Well, and that's important.
So much.
That's why it's important to have updates on the real-time information because one thing when they put me on the COVID healthcare task force, I asked them why they want me. I'm a nobody. And they already looked at my background and said, man, you're one of the baddest dudes on the planet. I got more degrees. I got 2 doctor degrees. I got a master's, 2 BS's, minor in military. I'm degreed up. You can't tell me about education. You damn sure can't tell me about experience and working in the real field. And so one of my responsibilities that I said, okay, I'll accept this position as on the task force to educate folks about the reality because they said they're sick of Fox and CNN. They're not saying anything different. And most of these folks have never seen a virus in their life.
And they're not being honest. I knew that before I saw you. I know anytime they're going to shut down all their money, it's something serious. Because they're not going to shut their money down for some stuff that's going to pass. So I knew that, but I just really didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know how deep it was until I saw your first show. One question I did have, bleach and water, how effective is it?
Well, in my world of biological warfare and infectious diseases and in clinical laboratory stuff, bleach works well in certain situations. Bleach is not the all the end all. In fact, bleach is, I have not seen a white paper that says bleach kills COVID-19. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen hydrogen peroxide. They're speculating that it works. The only product I know that's disinfectant like that works is a company called ExtremeCubes.com out of Henderson, Nevada. They have a patent on the best stuff on the planet. This is what we use to disinfect buildings. This is what we use in neonatal units. We did a paper back March 18 where we went to a nursing home in Detroit, had 50 plus people that were affected with COVID-19. We took the patients out of there. We tested the area using PCR. We found COVID on door handles, on toilets, in the bathroom, on the ceiling, on the beds. And then we disinfected the building with our solution, and that building became decontaminated. Tested again after PCR, and it worked. And this is the only white paper I know on the planet about COVID-19 is our stuff. Fact.
Wow. Okay. We got some questions here. Sharon Ross says, and I know you've answered this on some of the other ones, but is alcohol still good to use? Tell them the whole concentration on the alcohol.
The alcohol that we use is not 10% or 80% or 60%. The best alcohol is 70%, and that's 70% isopropyl alcohol. The reason why, when we look at the PChem or the physical chemistry of that, the evaporation rate is perfect. They allow the great contact between the alcohol and organism, bacterial, fungus, or viruses, and you get 100% kill rate with alcohol. When I'm in the jungle and I don't have my great antiseptic hand wash that we use, I will use alcohol to sterilize a wound. I will use alcohol to sterilize, do surgical procedures and stuff. So that tells you how alcohol can be very effective in sterilization.
That's good. Let me see. Eric Wade says, heard there was speculation that COVID-19 could be considered a bacteria, not a virus. Could there be truth to this?
Not at all. This COVID-19 is a virus. I don't know what marijuana you're smoking, but you're completely wrong. It's definitely.
Okay. You're completely wrong on that one. Okay. See, Danny Johnson says, what other disinfectants besides usual suspect Lysol Clorox spray are good to use for home? So if they can't get a hold to some of the fancier brand names that you have, really, it's none, right? You need to get it.
I mean, you're gonna have to use what you gotta use, and I understand people have budgets, people have a limitation on some of the expenses they have, and they have to use what they gotta use. And so I would say, stick with the basics. Chlorine is probably the best, bleach and stuff. Alcohol is probably number one, bleach is number two. You can't get into the high tech to protect your family and stuff, period. And then making sure that you don't have your shoes in the house, because your shoes are affected by transmission diseases. And then make sure you sterilize your shoes under the bottom, because you can get COVID-19 like that. And I know you folks, because you black to have dogs and stuff, and your dog outside, Buffy smelling Buffy's butt across the street, got his nose up in the butt, comes back home, and you guys let that dog, and they all kissing on the nose, letting that dog lick your face, getting the butt up all on your pillow and stuff. You better make sure you disinfect dog's feet and the nose, because you can get COVID-19 through your animals.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. We have another one. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm planning to return to work on Monday as my country is reopening. Any advice? I won't say the name because whoever it is, said they had a medical, situation, even though it's public here, I think. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to disclose medical information, but they have rheumatoid arthritis. Does that make them more susceptible?
No, not necessarily. But if he's taking any type of medication, or the individual taking any suppressant medication like prednisone, taking a steroid, are they taking methotrexate to suppress them? They are taking medication. That will depress their immune system, make them immunocompromised, and they can catch the infection that much more simpler. That's why a person that's already immunocompromised needs to definitely be using great biosecurity protocols for themselves. They need to be having an N95. They better make sure they're washing their hands on a regular basis. They better make sure they're not wearing their shoes in the house, and making sure they have a great air filtration unit in their individual establishment.
Yeah.
All right, so y'all got all the goods right here.
Yes.
You see any questions that I might have missed?
I don't see any.
Let me see. Does the viral load as well as the strain make a difference in how sick people become? Does the viral load as well as the strain? I
Well,
don't know.
no, that's a similar question. The viral load is the amount of virus that can be protruded. I.e., I can go in the jungles right now and get bit by mosquitoes, and I won't get malaria. I won't get Zika, chikungunya. It's all about exposure. So if somebody coughs directly in your face, you're going to have a large viral load, a lot of infectious particles, versus somebody that coughs downwind from you 12 or 15 feet, maybe the viral load is less. And when you get to a viral load, you have a threshold of what you got to have to cause infection in your body. Usually we use a number 10 to the fifth or 10 to the sixth power. When we get to 10 to the fifth, to the 10 to the sixth organism, that causes an infection. Anything below 10 to the fifth, you usually don't have infection. So if somebody coughs you and the viral load is greater than 10 to the sixth and higher, you're going to have a significant infection. That's what that means.
Mm.
Yikes. I done just made my peace with God. I just basically I listen.
I thought I was coming on the show to talk about red beans and rice and some cornbread.
You didn't say
Man,
Hungry.
we actually did used to have a cooking segment. We would allow certain chefs every week to come on and showcase, but COVID shut all that down.
right.
Yeah, what
We got to figure out
COVID-19 got to do with red beans and rice and cornbread?
because we don't have nobody here cooking.
Are you guys
Good.
sure this is called a kitchen table? Y'all know the difference between collard greens and spinach?
That we do. That we do.
I'm just checking.
He just told you she don't know how to cook.
Listen, I know how. I just don't like to.
There-
We got one more question because we coming up on the hour. Is probiotics and vitamin C good to take to combat the virus? I'm like,
No.
I'm not about to come back.
Well, I don't know where y'all got. That's like drinking some juju juice from New Orleans, voodoo stuff. No, folks, I'm sorry. Drinking vitamin C or D is not going to kill the virus. If you have a deficiency in your diet, you're starving and you're missing the vitamin and take it, it'll help you out. But usually our diets are pretty good here in America. We get all our nutrition vitamins from our diet. But taking a small vitamin a day, I think it's a good thing and stuff. But all this other stuff, it's not gonna make a difference. It's like people sending me questions about putting a head on a pot with steam and some
Oh,
orange.
I saw that.
I mean, the virus inside the cell. Only thing you're doing is burning up your hair node.
I saw that. That was going
that
on.
is going around. I'll be honest. I done bought every kind of mentholatum, everything we can
Right.
get.
It
But
couldn't hurt anything.
But ladies, you have to understand that. I want to keep it real. I can give you the Dr. Roland or the Mickey Mouse, the version of it. I'm keeping it real. I know you two individuals probably got cracked feet, heels, corns. Y'all need to put some lotion on them cracked, dry heels. That's a fact.
not mine. Mine ain't cracked. It says, Malik, you have any questions? Don't be looking at me. You know
I don't know. I just don't know. I didn't see them.
Several people, including me, had a nasty cold. A lot of people think because they had the flu last year that they think it might have been COVID.
I was
What do
one
you
of those
think?
people that said that.
I think a possibility that's very strong. I think I had probably COVID myself when I was in Amsterdam the first week. Anyway, I was sick. My daughter Jordan was sick for 3 weeks in the month of February, before she had to do summer shoots. And so I believe a lot of people were exposed, but we didn't know about it. That was already in the society. But that makes perfectly good sense because, I don't want to be critical, but the bottom line is that we have a lot of Asian people, LA airport, Seattle, SeaTac, or San Francisco. This infection was spread much earlier, probably in September, October, and we just didn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally think that I had it in December. I had never been so sick to where I went to the hospital. They tested me for the flu. Of course, they said I had strand B of the flu, and I was out for like at least 14 days,
Yeah.
and had never been down like that. A couple of days here and there, yeah, but my body was aching. It was just horrible.
Yeah, I believe that that a lot of people have had, and we're just figuring it out now. And the most important thing is to make sure you guys understand going into the future, because our job is to protect children, making sure children understand the environment, because they're our future, you know, our little minds and stuff. So you can imagine what adult people are going through. You can imagine what children going through if the family members are arguing, all that stuff. We have to make sure our little guys, our little people are taken care of too. And that's why I want to make sure you talk about Uncle Kuski, and they can get their answers hand washed in their comic books and wash. Uncle Kusi's job is to teach these children.
Now that's already out.
Yeah, he's already out. You can go to our website.
Right.
Bigger than Mickey Mouse. He will be bigger than Mickey Mouse. He's your uncle with a tuxedo, his big stomach. He's a dapper with a cane. Got them tennis shoes. He's a cool dude.
Okay.
Uncle Koofy, that's going to be the antiseptic hand wash, and we'll put this on the website. But once somebody is really wanting to know if you have blood clots, are you more susceptible?
Well, we found out today that probably the vast majority of Black people that are dying from COVID-19 clots. That came out today. And clots are clots. Clots in your legs, your heart attack, clots in your brain, clots in your kidney failure. That's one of the complications of some viral diseases, cause you to have a systemic problem with your vascular system, your coagulation system, the things that help with clotting. You make you clot too much, you don't have any, like I see with people with dengue, they bleed out through their eyeball. They bleed out through their pores, Ebola. They some diseases that causes clots, that can have you have a stroke. That's just the way it is with virus.
So basically, is there anything we can take to help prevent the disease? You basically said you gotta keep your mask on when you go into public. You gotta use antiseptic hand wash. You must keep your shoes outside or disinfect them at the door, leave them there. Anything that we're missing?
Molecule.
Filtration system.
Not at all. I mean, when we come back and we do part 2, because you want the doctor to come back, and I'm sure this time we're going to talk about how to fry catfish.
How to fry catfish?
You know what? You on just for that. When you come back, we're gonna have some food at the table.
Right.
I'm supposed to be on a kitchen talk, so I'm thinking, man, I want some red beans and rice and some sausage, some cornbread.
How would you get it?
That is right. We're gonna have all of that the next time you come back, because this disease is ever evolving, and we want to keep updated. And most of all, we want to make sure that our people are updated, because we may not necessarily be getting the full picture from CNN, ABC, and CBS.
Right.
So,
history of medicine, and this is why problems have so many cases. A lot of Black people, I'm sorry, this is reality. Don't trust the healthcare system, because they experimented on us. They injected us with syphilis in 1932, went to 1972. 40 years, people had syphilis. The experiments they've done on giving Black people medication, heart medication, they always experiment on us, and they talk about morality. What morality are you talking about when you're dealing with human beings and compassion? And my job as a humanitarian, as a compassionate doctor, is to help people with the best information I can possibly have to help you folks. And that's just the way it is. Sorry, it's my calling from God. It's my defect in who I am, because God gave me a conscience.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you answering to your call. Thank you for answering to your call.
thank you for answering to your call, because I will venture to say tonight you have saved many lives just by being on this show.
Oh,
And educating us as a society. I appreciate you, Doctor. We love you. I appreciate you for giving us the Dr. Roland version
Yes,
Even
but
though I'm like,
he came in on Daddy when we started talking about food. That was Daddy
Yeah.
rolling.
Well, you know, guys, guys, at the end of the day, I'm just a regular old guy. Diarrhea, I get headaches. I'm a human being. Everybody's, I have a special gift because I've been trained and stuff, and that's just the way it is. But I'm no different than anybody else. But I have a skill set and I have experience in life, and I've done the push-ups to be at this moment in this time. You know,
Yeah.
my lane. Anybody else? People are in my lane.
right.
Yeah.
Y'all see the safer hands dot scrolling across the screen. Make sure you get it. Get your antiseptic wipe. We'll bring Dr. Roland back in a couple of weeks and see where we are. Meantime, please, you guys, put your mask on. You know,
Be
wash your
safe.
hands.
Well, thank you guys, and
Thanks, Doc.
I don't. If I'm telling you right now, if they have catfish and candy and some cornbread, basket sauce, I ain't coming on the show.
I'm gonna have it for
Man, some
you.
food.
I'll go get your food. I also want to mention real quick before you go, once we do start flying again, I want to go on one of your safari trips because
Yes,
it's
yes.
not just the
I think
doctor.
I need you folks to come and help me save the people in these third world countries because they're dying, and that's why we have what we do as a humanitarian. That's why you need to buy my stuff at saferhands.us because I take that money and I'm gonna be buying oxygen for the people that are dying in real time. And these people are not mannequins. They're real people with real families and they have sad stories. We have to do the best we can as a society.
Wow. Thank you, doctor. We
Thank
appreciate you.
you
Like I said,
again.
many people they missed some of it. They want to watch it. You guys can go over to the YouTube channel, The Kitchen Table Talk with Tina, or it'll be on Facebook, The Kitchen Table Talk. And yeah, you'll get all of that with the full story with Dr. Roland. I'm telling you, I mean, that was, and this was his third one tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
and
he's back to back. Yeah.
still they were back to back with different platforms. I mean, he's just so informative. I can't even begin to tell you
And
how
so
informative he is.
authentic, just authentic. You know, he's not
Real.
trying to soften it for us. He's not softening the blow because he want to keep our feelings intact. No, it is what it is.
Yeah. That was deep. So my question to you, Malachi, the young generation, because y'all have a tendency to feel invincible and you feel that, you know, it's just another flu. How are you feeling about some of the information you learned tonight?
Well, I mean, public information was, you know, it attacks older people and people with weak immune systems. So for a lot of the time, the younger, more, you know, stronger, more able people felt like, you know, it's here today, gone tomorrow. But now with this information, it's the different strains that are really what's making it so deadly. You could get a weak strain and it might not affect you so much, and then a stronger strain and you could be out.
But who
So
want to take that chance at getting
yeah, that's what I'm
everything?
saying. Now it's like we don't even want to. I don't even want to take that chance. I don't know. I don't know if everybody knows that though. A lot of people weren't tuning in, and a lot of people still think, you know, it just affects the weak. So I don't
Tell
know.
all your friends now. So you got to tell your friends, educate your friends. Tell them to go on over to the Kitchen Table Talk with Tina, you know, for as long as it's going
YouTube.
to stay the Kitchen Table Talk.
It's okay, poo poo. But here's the thing, Malik. Here's the thing, Malachi. The thing
Yeah.
is, even if me as a say, you know, I'm strong and I'm good and I get it, right? I'm infected with it. I am good, but I come home to my daughter who is asthmatic. I come home to my mom who's
Yeah,
an old,
exactly.
you know, elderly. Now I'm infecting them and they're going to respond to it differently. So we can't,
Way different.
so different, you know? So that's my fear, not fear. I'm not scared, but that is my concern. Right. So when I'm going out, when I'm going to work and I'm coming home and my concern is not necessarily me, and not saying that if I get it, I won't die from it, but I would feel horrible if I am, you know, I'm tested positive and then my child or my children get it, my mom get it, and they pass away.
Right.
So it's just it's
So
so much.
yeah, it's incumbent upon each of us to go out there, try to
As a
educate.
community, we gotta correct this. We gotta act appropriately and take the actions we have to do. But a lot of
Yeah,
people are complaining. And a lot of people can't wear a mask because it's just too much.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot going on, and people aren't taking it as seriously as they should, and that's a big issue right now.
well, y'all heard it right here at the kitchen table, where no topic is too heavy or too light for the table. And we'll see y'all next week. We're gonna next week we're gonna start our series with the dads, right, Brown?
Yeah, next month for the month of December, Jesus. For the month of June, we are honoring fathers. And so every Thursday of next month, we will have, well, next week it'll be something a little special, but the following 3 weeks will be different fathers, and we have topics related to fatherhood.
See.
So y'all come on back. We'll be right here
Yeah.
every Thursday, 7 o'clock at the table.
All right.